Hey out there, thanks for tuning in. I'm kind of excited. You know why? I think I have an offer accepted on the Brown House. I made a video on December 29th about it. This is a house where they were asking 180. From the outside, it almost looks too good to be true. The realtor had said that the floors were sloping. Well, when you went in, it's a little bit worse than sloping. They're all down, they're doing this. Don't quite know what's going on with the house. Anyway, I'll get back to that. They didn't take my offer. Somebody else outbid me, but I did have my offer in at 182. My agent that I used got back to me about 2-3 days ago and said, hey, you still interested in that property? Because they're going to terminate the deal with the current buyer. I was like, heck yeah. Don't tell the listing agent how excited I am, but yes. So, the Brown House, it might be going through, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Coming up with a rehab budget without having all the factors that you need in order to come up with a realistic number associated with the rehab costs. But first, I want to talk about something else. I think about 4 or 5 months ago, a neighbor of ours died. We didn't really know the guy. He was young. It's sad. I think he had a stroke and passed away. He didn't pass away while he was in his house, but by the time they found him, he was so far gone. Sad story. However, the house is now empty. It's been empty. The other neighbor that I know, he knows the executor. It's a friend of the person that had passed away. So I had reached out to them a few months ago to see if they were going to be selling the house. And they said they probably would be. And then yesterday I spoke to the neighbor and he said they're going to put it on the market. So they didn't call me back. I'd love to get inside it and make an offer on the house. Anyway, I called the woman. Hello, Mary. It's Harry. I've been meaning to call you, Harry. Yes, we want to sell the house. We're in upstate New York, but we're going to be back tomorrow. I'm bringing this up because a friend of mine, George, that watches these videos, he was in a similar situation. So I have a house. I kind of know what the value is. I mean, it's literally right next door, and it's got an awesome lot, over a half-acre lot. Here's the problem. The executor doesn't know too much about real estate, and I want to present an offer, but I want to make sure that they see the value in the offer that I present. It's going to be a cash offer. The house needs some fix-ups. The gutters are off of it, as a matter of fact, right now. And I want to make sure that the executor, the person responsible for selling the house, sees the value that goes along with a cash offer versus listing it with a realtor. Don't forget, I always want to have a win-win deal. I don't want to rob anybody of the house, but at the same time, me presenting an offer of all cash makes it so much easier for someone. I like to do a little bit of due diligence behind the scenes. So hopefully these guys will call me tomorrow and I'll get in the house over the weekend. I don't know what the inside looks like. I just know that there's an in-ground pool. I don't know how that operates, if it even operates. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody in it. Guy was a very private guy and I didn't really know him. Matter of fact, I didn't know him at all. The house is smaller. I think it's only about 1,400 square feet. Here's what I got to go with. I looked up on the tax scrolls and I was able to see that he has a mortgage on the house for about $141,000. Zestimate is giving it $460,000. That's Zillow's estimate, in case you didn't know. Zillow's estimates are all over the place. I don't think that's very accurate. As a matter of fact, I think it's quite high for 1,400 square feet. One good thing about it is the size of the lot with the in-ground pool. That does jack up the value a little bit. But 460, it's too high. The assessment is 411. I think that's probably closer to value, like 411, if the inside is all renovated. So, what kind of an offer am I going to put in? I'd probably put in an offer for 300. Now, if the inside is really nice, doesn't need any fix-ups or anything, I'd probably put a little bit higher, but it's a little bit outside my comfort zone. So, I'm saying this to you guys because if you come across something like this, the key ingredient is making sure that the executor knows the value that goes along with a cash offer versus listing it. So I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but having realtors involved and attorneys involved and contracts of 6 months, and people are going to want inspections on the house, and they're going to want the gutters put up before they list it, and all of this kind of stuff that's just a burden especially to somebody that's not familiar with real estate. That's really like it's a difficult task, especially if you're reeling with being in grief from somebody passing away. So I want to throw that out there because the next video I make about that is going to be what it looks like inside. Let me get back to the Brown house. So when I walked through the Brown house back in the end of January, or not January, December, I made some mental notes of the floors, definitely. Not really sure what's going on with the floors. That's going to probably be the biggest single expense. Unless I start ripping off the subfloor, it's really not that big of a deal. But I'm going to bet that most of the joists, if not all the joists underneath, are going to have to be replaced, along with the subfloor and new flooring. It's a pretty big expense. I didn't do the measurements. I didn't really run any numbers as far as concrete numbers for what that will cost. And I'm going to get to why I didn't do that. I'm going to talk about rehab costs. And if you don't know all the defects of the house, how do you come up with something? You know, how do you can't just take it out of your head. You got to come up with some kind of a number that you use. So first I want to start with, what do I know about the house? I know that the purchase price is going to be $182. I already ran the comps. What are comps? Comparables in the area. I think I should probably get close to $330 for an ARV. What's an ARV? After repair value. However, I'm going to run the ARV of $300 to $330, and to tell you the truth, I'm going to concentrate on the lower of the two. So now let me tell you how I do this. So listen, this is a non-conventional, unconventional approach to coming up with rehab costs. It's not for the faint of heart, and if you talk to like somebody else that flips houses or is a real estate investor, you'd be like, that guy's crazy. He's a gambler. Yeah, I am a gambler. But also, I'm going to make some educated guesses. And in this environment, in this market that we're in, if you don't act fast, you won't get the deal. So if you need all your T's crossed and your I's dotted before you can put an offer in, that offer's not going to you're not even going to have to worry about it because that offer's not going to get accepted. You got to act fast. Realtor told me 2 or 3 days ago that this is probably going to be coming back onto the market. If I want it, they're going to take my offer. Got to act. Absolutely. I want it. So the factors I know, I'm going to have to pay $182 like the original purchase agreement. I'm going to use a $300,000 ARV. I'm going to go on the conservative side. I think it might be $330, but I'm going to use $300. I'm going to use a hard money loan. And because this is probably going to be the 6th or 7th deal I do with this particular hard money lender, they give me a little bit of preferential treatment. I feel special. That means they can go up to 75% of the ARV. This 90% is loan to cost. And the 90% could be a factor depending on the situation, but I don't really pay attention to it unless I hit that situation. The 75% is what I'm looking at. I want to come up with what's the max budget that I could have on this house. And if it's in the ballpark that I feel comfortable with, I'm going to move ahead. In this particular case, 75% represents $225,000. How did I come up with that? 75% of $300,000 ARV. I put down $160,000 because the purchase price is $182. I'm probably going to come up with $20,000 to $22,000 down. It's going to give me about a $160,000 loan minus the rehab, and it's going to give me $65,000. Can I renovate that house for $65,000 if I have to blow out all new joists, all new subfloor, all new floors throughout the house? Heck yeah. How much do I think it would cost? I gotta tell you, depending on how much I want to do, which I might have to do quite a bit, I think I might be able to do it for 10. Now, hold on, Harry. What if you got foundation issues too and you gotta go in there? Well, I just said that I could probably do the subfloor and the joists for 10 if I did it myself with a helper, right? That means I could spend another $20,000 on foundation issues if I have to, and still have $35,000 left for the interior. Now, again, this is not for the faint of heart. Not everybody wants to go into it like this. You typically want to go in, and if you're new, You'd want to go in with an inspector or somebody that really knows what they're doing in order to come up with a budget. $65,000 and the loan that I would be getting on the house still allows me to get in with about 20 to 25% equity in this house, which means on top of the 65,000, if I really found something that was like hellacious, I don't know if that's a word, I still got room in there. So that's why I'm moving forward with this. When I go into a deal that I'm using a hard money lender, especially this hard money lender, I know how they operate. I know the percentages that they use and everything else. I'm maxing out the budget every time. So when I say 300, I'm using for my estimates. I'm giving them 330. I'm telling them that the house is going to be worth 330 with an ARV. I'm going to support that with comps in the area that's going to support a $330,000 value. That doesn't mean the appraiser that goes out initially is going to hit 330, but they're going to have a starting point at least. If they hit 330, that $65,000 budget, I'm jacking that up. I'll probably make an $80,000 budget. So someone might say, but Harry, if you don't need all that money, why are you borrowing it? Isn't that silly? Kind of defeating the purpose. Oh, by contraire, let me tell you why. I want the highest budget possible every time. I want to use other people's money. I'd rather have all that money coming in for me because I pay myself during construction. You know, let's say the first phase is construction, ripping off the subfloors and starting to put the joists down. I put down a $20,000 budget, but really it only cost me 10. What am I doing with that 10? In my pocket. And I'm going to replenish the amount of money that I came out of pocket for the down payment, because you know what I've said in other videos. The least amount of money out of my pocket makes me happy. What else does it do? It also sways a new appraisal. So at the end, I'm going to go over my exit strategy. Having an appraisal for 330 that's going to support a larger budget is going to help me when I go out of the property, because I'm going to rent this one out. Here's another thing, tax benefits. If you go to flip this property, I'm holding it, but if you go to flip this property, it sure makes more sense that tax benefits of, you know, if you use $80,000 on a rehab versus 60, it just shows that maybe you didn't make that extra 20,000. I think an ulterior motive to me making these videos is I can look back on them afterwards and see how close I was to the actual numbers. Like, keeps me honest. Plus, my memory's not that good anymore. Oh, the shirt, it doesn't really fit that well. However, it's American made and it's so comfortable, in case you're asking. So here's the Brown House exit strategy. Anymore, if at all possible, I'm holding all the properties. Don't like to sell, and I want to build that net worth like I've talked about. So in this particular case, the exit strategy is to rent it. I think I can get at least $2,400. For the other Manawan house, we're getting $25. So at $2,400, even if I have to use the niche lender that I typically use, and by the way, we're doing our taxes, and after this year, it'll give me 2 full years. I'll be like legit, and I should be able to go Fannie and possibly not have to use this niche lender. Anyway, let's say I have to use this niche lender to refinance and get the cash out. They go up to 75%. So I'll get all my money back that I put into the to the house for the rehab and all that kind of stuff. Kind of break even, maybe make a couple bucks cash when I get out. I'm going to make a couple bucks during rehab. I'm going to make about $250 a month on this. It's nothing to write home about, but it is the niche lender with the higher interest rate, right? And here's what I love. I'm going to put about $75,000 into the coffer. Is that the word, coffer? The net worth is going to grow by $75,000 in this house. It's exciting stuff. So I just wanted to mention this market that we're in, because I've made videos about my, well, it's not mine. I don't think I made it up, but I try to refer to it as much as possible. My 70% rule. What's a 70% rule, you ask? 70%. That's where I want to be at when I buy a house. 70% of the ARV, after repair value, is what I want to have all in. In this particular case, like the Brown house, I was just running numbers, and I'm going to be about 75. So really the 70% rule's not applying in this case. But Harry, you said it was a rule, Harry. I probably shouldn't have called it a rule. Like if I want a house, I'm going to have to bend it a little bit. The thing about this market is it's a seller's market. Properties flying off the shelf. The biggest thing, in case you're wondering, is speed. Gotta get in, you gotta lock it up as soon as possible, and then you gotta get it done. So on this brown house, let's say I get the word from the realtor tomorrow. Oh, by the way, I already contacted my attorney. He's already got the contract from back in December. Already contacted my lender, ran all the numbers by him. I told my attorney what title company I want to use. Everybody's just paused and ready to go out there. Because you know what? The fastest one that I closed was 19 days. I want to beat that record here. And I want to build a rapport with the realtors that are involved, the attorneys, the seller, that Harry closes fast because I want to get it done. So I'll let you know more about it tomorrow.